Welcome back, friends. Zoe here with Jake and Johnny, and we're about to dive into the semi-finals in the lower bracket. Twisted Minds will be going up against SSG. Both teams fighting for survival. Both teams coming off, I would say, some disappointing results in the upper bracket. Now they're clawing their way back up. Let's dig in. Let's talk about the two teams and what we've seen so far. Starting with Twisted Minds. I mean, you know, we know what this roster is capable of here, Jake. It was a tough loss against NC yesterday, but they look like a different team against the one-man army today. When faced with a Diva comp like yesterday, they seem to struggle. SSG is not going to give them that, though.
Yeah, I mean, SSG has been really reticent to play the Diva, and UB got away with a ton on the Pharah in this last series. Quartz as well, with no Diva in his face, able to just be having a reign of terror really on the hit scan. And while I do think SSG is going to put up a much stiffer fight than the last match that Twisted Minds had to go through, I'm kind of worried for SSG. I think this is just a matchup compositionally and strategically that looks pretty good for Twisted Minds from where I'm sitting.
Well, and on the other side, Johnny, as a resident SSG enjoyer, supporter, fan, and friend, are they in an identity crisis right now? Can I be that extreme? Can I bring that drama?
I think you could say that. You know, obviously they mentioned in an interview that Christopher has been cooking in the lab here, but this has been a team that for the past week, they haven't been exactly sure about what look they'll bring out. Are they going to play Funny Astro on the Lucio or the Brig? We even saw Backbone come out a few maps actually, against Hypnos and played the Reaper, and they stepped up the tempo, playing this Lucio Kiriko instead. This could be a look we see, for example, where it's going to be Backbone playing the Mei in some of these matchups. Is Hardy going to play the Mauga, the Winston, or the Diva? There are just so many compositions here that Spacestation have showed us the past week, and they've taken some pretty brutal losses. They lost 3-0 to ENCE in the Faceit League. That was before they, you know, had a bit of a come together and like, what are we going to do here? So this has been a Spacestation team there. I'm not exactly sure what look they're going to bring here, especially after taking a narrow loss to Virtus Pro in a 5-map banger in the upper bracket, right? So if you want to come away and you want to win this tournament, I just feel like you kind of just have to put Hardy on the Winston, and you kind of have to enable that. I feel like the best look we've seen from this team is when Funny Astro is playing that Lucio, but you kind of also need Landon on the Ana, in my opinion. So it's like, you know, it's a tough spot for SSG to be in. I feel like they have a bit of a tough identity crisis on their hands here, and we'll just have to see what they've kind of cooked up overnight here after beating Hypnos 3-1.
They're certainly a team which is known for, even if it went against the grain a little bit, even if it wasn't considered meta, they still ran it with so much confidence in the past and made it work. Maybe it's the time to just hone in. Full send, die on your hill. Let's see if they can make it happen. One thing's for sure, though, their approach in the past has garnered them a lot of fans. People enjoy SSG as a team. They enjoy the players. You enjoy the players. You're rocking their merch, even, and people really appreciated that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, this is a really fun team, and, you know, I mentioned Psycho in the past, so, you know, I was happy to rock this one specifically for the Funny Astro Mercy gameplay, which we won't see any of today. But, you know, looking at the individual standouts, like Sparker, can Sparker take it to Quartz in the hit scan duel? Can the likes of Psycho take it to UB? And in that kind of flex matchup, we've seen Psycho rock the Tracer and the Echo, right? They have really strong individual players on this team. It's just a matter of like putting it all together and finding a composition that you can take down this slower Twisted Minds team with. You know what Twisted Minds are going to bring. They're going to bring that Diva look, and some points they might take it to Circuit Real and play Sigma, right? So SSG, they know what's ahead of them.
They do indeed. If we're looking at our predictions, okay, I understand that Twisted Minds is very good right now. SSG is struggling. I'm going to die on this hill, though. I'm not going to die on an anti-Twisted Minds hill. I'm going to die on a pro-SSG hill. The talent is there. This is not an empty phrase if we're looking at this team. Like, I know they can play on such a high level. It's been a bit shaky, but now is their time to return. It's going to be, this is it. Today's the day, I believe. And the community believes, too.
Wow.
I am the people.
Me and Jake, we have more faith.
I don't agree in the community. I mean, yeah. I just think it's the nature of the meta right now. Twisted Minds is in a great spot here, and I think UB, like if Hadi doesn't play Diva, I think we're going to see a lot of UB on the Pharah and the Echo. And SSG has been so slow on these dive comps. I feel like there's going to be a lot of time for Quartz to work his magic. I
just feel there's more opportunity for SSG to hit him with something surprising.
I think with the right map pick, like SSG has some map picks that are probably free wins.
Yes, so I feel like there's more opportunity out there for them. Will it result in a win? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's send it over to our casters. Matt, Mitch, Do you expect a close one here? How are we feeling? What's the vibe about the SSG identity crisis, as I now dub?
That's like the 4th time you said that.
I'm really trying to run a narrative here. Please don't interrupt.
Is it that bad for SSG? I mean, we did see Hardy with a brief Diva stint. I don't think that was incredible. But his Winston play is something that like he's obviously grinded for a long time. It is, like Des pointed out, it's a real question about how much room Quartz is going to have, because he looks incredible today, genuinely incredible. But SSG have a team that can shut down star players. That's something that also we see a heck of a lot from someone like Backbone to get subbed in. It just kills you with like random ice spikes. He was killing Ashes consistently in their last game on Control, just lighting them up, a couple of those spikes, and Bob's your uncle.
But I think it seems like the meta is just kind of going, I guess, in like Twisted Mind's favor, you would say, right? It's just, can Space Station kind of pull one out of a rabbit out of the hat here and just kind of like win one in a little bit of a surprising fashion.
So still SSG. Are we reading into much?
It's so hard. You're either like looking at just kind of like past performance and like weighing that extremely heavily, right, and saying like SSG will still figure it out, right, or just kind of looking at what we've seen the last 2 games and being like, okay, like, Twisted Mind just put up a great performance. Like, seems like they have a little bit more options to go with. As this is an interesting look. This is directly kind of against like what a Winston like dive would want to go up against, right? You're going to see the Junker Queen come out here for Twisted
In the
Mind.
past, we've actually seen TM play Diva and Symmetra on this map, this very stage. So a little bit of a different look here, maybe anticipating a Winston. So how they come on the Junker Queen? Hardy definitely has his work cut out from here. See Lucio Kiriko for both sides.
This is a comp for Twisted Minds, that if you don't execute the dive well for Space Station, they're going to be able to take advantage of it, right? So I think it's almost Twisted Minds just baiting in Space Station, like, okay, you're going to play this Winston, like let's see how well you can do it.
They have to flatten the Cassidy. Must get Quartz here. There's an art connection there for TVNT. Doesn't quite connect. The swing goes. A Suzu came down at just the right time. So Space Station win the damage trade at the very least. It's going to force Twisted Minds to split a little bit, and the healing comes a little slow with the Lucio Kiriko setup. That's an issue for both sides, though, as we will see.
Yeah, but Hardy getting extremely low every time he jumps on in, right? Gets hit with a knife. Rampage, nice shots here, landing on the Quartz is maybe this can set something up.
Shout, not enough to keep Quartz standing, but Hardy has to serve himself up in order to get that kill. That is a pretty hefty trade to take. The Junker Queen of TVNT still at large here. Still a little susceptible to Echo's attentions, especially without Cassidy. Psycho has a short window here to really try and exploit his mobility.
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to kind of dislodge the Queen from the point. You're going to need that Winston back in the fight, so right now it's going to be Landon who takes out Bliss at range. I mean, that could be a decider, and they just kind of collapse on the TVNT. And like you mentioned, that focusing beam of the Echo, and just delete that Junker Queen if you go
It's just that she can't interact with you, really, for the most part, as Echo. Hardy able to return to the fray and provide a very crucial bubble at just the right time. The Space Station comp, it does work. It just feels like they're countered, Cassidy versus Echo and Junker Queen versus Winston. But again, Landon finds an opening pick in that last fight, gets rid of Bliss, and now we go into a fight with sound barriers, and of course, both Kitsune rushes.
The kill on a Bliss is huge because that's the speed to kind of get TVNT out of like a pretty hairy situation, which he ended up being in, right? So no speed and then also no sound barrier potentially, as that is Quartz going away rather quick.
I think it's worth it though when your Echo has duplicate available. Later sound barrier for Twisted Minds, but doesn't save the Cassidy, of course. Primal here for Hardy. Whenever he gets close to Junker Queen, he's going to need something to give himself that extra durability. I like the dupe here for Psycho. Good damage, but the Rampage connects onto 3. Psycho can shrug off the debuff though when he comes out of dupe, and Hardy wasn't really affected by it for that long either. And this is Space Station now who've gotten into the lead, but that was a big fight with ults. But I want to point to something very important. Funny Astro has a big tick next to his name still.
Yes. Yeah, he holds on to that sound barrier throughout all of that.
That's
that
wild.
Is so good here for Space Station Gaming. The trust that Funny Astro has in the team to be able to kind of stay alive on through all of that, as Quartz ends up using the Deadeye here. Nice juke there from Sparker, but not going to live in the end.
So when the Deadeye doesn't find the kills, it forces Sparker and Psycho into unbelievably awkward positions. Now Hardy needs to see what he can find, but again, without DPS, it's just a matter of stall here for Space Station Gaming, who get to 78.
Is there a part where, I'm curious your thoughts, like that like Twisted Minds maybe even just kind of like overthinking this a little bit, that they could just kind of play. Maybe you have to play the Cassidy, right? Because maybe you're a little bit worried about the Ashe, but you could just play the D.Va here, right?
Yes.
Like you don't have to kind of play this extremely, you know, kind of like counter type of
But
style.
frankly, like, you're not taking space away from anyone necessarily with D.Va, right? Like, Echo can sort of avoid that for the most part. Tracer is not affected by that space taking. The backline of Space Station is really mobile. So having something that just says, you can't dive us, and I can create space for Quartz, definitely seems like a little bit better. So it's like, yeah, I mean, Twisted Minds are less interested, you know, about, you know, taking space away from Space Station as opposed to get to their back line. It's all about keeping the Cassidy up, man. Here's a Katina rush from both sides. They cross over Sound Barrier, though, out of sync. Vigilante and Bliss have their ultimates both up in this fight and lay them. This is going to get Twisted Minds within striking distance of a round win. What a stick. I mean, I don't know how you find that one there. Hardy very low now, landed under extreme pressure. And you really feel like Space Station played themselves into a counter comp and still tried to win. A valiant effort, but not enough.
Yeah, it's funny. Astro just going to try and get a touch here towards the end. Going to die rather quickly at the hands of TVNT. So Twisted Minds with a really nice look here with the Junker Queen off the start. Gave the dive of Space Station some trouble and take that first round.
I mean, I just think that's playing Overwatch on hard mode for Space Station. It's really hard to fight against that setup from TM. Space Station, you know, let's not forget, they have like a Malga comp that they can rely on. That, you know, on this kind of map can be relevant. Don't know about the Hardy Doomfist personally. But I mean, you know, after all these years, we're still coming back to the question of like how deep the hero pool for Space Station's main tank player is. And this is kind of the whole impetus for the discussion of identity crisis. The Space Station haven't found a real niche in this metagame to, you know, give them an edge.
I mean, this is also a pretty like rare. You know, we haven't really, you know, seen like a, you know, what D.Va Sigma Ramatra like type of like meta, right? Like it seems that like Maga or, you know, some kind of like rush variation's always been pretty strong. Even Winston as well, right? So it's a little bit of a rarity here in terms of where we're at in the meta. It'll be Twisted Minds going back to this D.Va-based competition as Space Station. They'll play the Maga with the Cassidy and the Echo, so they'll keep the Echo in the mix. Definitely putting some pressure onto the
This
D.Va.
is pretty uncommon as well to see Space Station playing without backbone for a control map. So they don't really like have that easy venture made plug and play option that they normally would have that would probably benefit this Malga comp when it comes to the all-in much more, especially against an Ana here. Lucio Ana for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, as the Maga, they just kind of get to the point and they hold that position, but not able to result in any kills as Hadi will end up killing Yubi as he goes a little bit too far deep as Sparker now goes and plays Tracer instead of the Cassidy. I think this works a little bit more. If you're going to have this Maga, you have to be aggressive, right? You have to use those stomps and go in and make a play for Quartz. So you can't just kind of sit here in the back and as I say that, Quartz finds another kill here on the Funny Astro at the start.
The neutral game.
Look at the
neutral game is so bad for Space Station with their comp, especially up against an Ashe. All right, so I understand like wanting to commit here, you know, to some degree. You could go a step further, right, and like have another sort of proper dive DPS or someone that's not so susceptible to Ashe like the Echo is. Space Station back to the Winston here.
But don't you feel like this Winston comp just kind of like, you don't want to say like just straight up loses to this D.Va, right? But we've seen you know, maybe enough footage now in EMEA that like the D.Va is still pretty strong, right?
I don't like it here, frankly. And it's just really hard to see how Psycho's been able to find any value at all for Space Station alongside the Malga or the Winston. Yeah, it's a terrible matchup. I mean, like Winston versus D.Va in the 1v1 is not really where you want to be. And you also don't have like an Ana in this comp.
Yeah, and Quartz talked about how the like hit scan in the interview like maybe isn't great right now, but wait, there's no D.Va on the other side, right? The hit scan can still be extremely strong, can still provide extreme value. Twisted Minds not had to use any ultimates to win any of these fights. They have all 5 available here.
Psycho on the venture now, but not with the Malga, with the Winston instead. Okay. Right, well, at least he's
a burrow just by.
Yeah, exactly. Just created space. It sounds like an overused term a little bit, but that's exactly what he did there. Here's a Nano, something the Space Station don't have access to. Going to be a beat for a Funny Astro to deal with this. It's 4 players having that conferred to them on the SSG side. And still that pressure for TVNT comes in. There's a self-destruct here, so a remake opportunity, one that can't be exploited by Space Station. And finally, they get control of the point at 99. Who's with Psycho right now? No one. Adventure pretty solo there. Obviously, eventually Hardy links up with him. The Bionade, though, is devastating. Lucio Kiriko in this shell is just weird.
The bio ends up connecting with Psycho and Hardy. Hardy ends up living. It'll be a point flip here for Twisted Minds. It's just a nice prediction there onto where Sparker is coming from. It'll be a Primal Rage from Hardy, but don't know. Oh, they won't even get the Primal off. I mean, sleep, bio, headshot there. Man, Twisted Minds. No, I was going to say, Mitch, there's no way this is faster than some of the other series we've had today, but after that round, who knows?
This might legitimately be the weakest that we have seen Space Station gaming this year. I mean, they are playing, they are playing half comps mashed together, right? They start with a Malga comp, Lucio Kiriko, which is fine. They have an Echo with it. Then they switch to the Winston. That's when they actually make the move towards Venture, but they don't bring an Ana into their composition at all. And probably because Funny Astro, you know, sitting on a sound barrier, not going to be switching over. You play, you know, you don't play Brig there anyway. Yeah, very weird. This is weird to watch here for Space Station. They don't seem to have a permutation of heroes that lines up here. And again, they come into the map with that backbone. That's the one that gave them a lot of that flexibility, you know, at DPS to play along either Psycho or Sparker, whichever one may be. And a credit to Space Station where it's due, because I think they play into such a hostile anti-Winston dive comp on this map. Cassidy there to control Echo sightlines, and the Junker Queen to make dive a very unattractive prospect. And they get a lot done here. You know, they dupe her Junker Queen. They're able to shrug off like the Rampage that comes in. They're able to pick off Bliss on occasion. But like, if your win condition is your Kiriko finding a kill on like a random backliner, that isn't going to carry you through the entirety of a control round.
I'm also wondering, like, where was this Twisted Minds the other day, right? I mean, they look awesome here today, kicking things off. I think Quartz, you know, they were never able to make him pay, right? It was something that Jake was talking about on the desk, like, you know, they're going to have Quartz have this much space with how he was playing a little bit earlier. It's going to be a very long series, and you see, never really worried. Never really worried about it.
And again, like, Winston and D.Va both dive. They both take space by that mechanism, but D.Va can do it, you know, by tying people up and also by just putting a defense matrix in front of the Ashe. Winston is going to straight away get run into by the D.Va, take a ton of damage because obviously, you know, D.Va's really scary up close, and then eventually just kind of has to get straight back out. And the healing throughput for a dive comp with Lucio Kiriko means that Hardy can't stay in the front line for very long. His windows for putting that kind of pressure on Quartz is like half as long as if they were in like an Ana Lucio shell with a, you know, with a D.Va. He can hang around, he can keep putting pressure, the healing throughput is good enough, there's a Bionade as well to secure that like healing amplification, or we could use it aggressively. There's way more available to you. It's hard to see what the comp idea, there's a few scattered ideas I think that are coming together here for Space Station, but you know, Twisted Minds are more than happy to find something as punishable as possible to whatever Space Station is throwing.
Yeah, like, what do you want to play here if you're SSG, right?
Slay the Spire.
Do you want to try and just
Minecraft? Yeah, I don't think you're...
Do you want to just try and play like Rush? Like what is the goal here? Like,
so you might be... You might be looking for a comp that like does allow you to play like a, you know, a proper dive setup, right? Circuit means no. I mean, we're definitely not going to be seeing that. But again, this is an SSG pick. There are definitely a few sort of things that they can leverage on a map of this nature, but what's Hardy going to play? We often see Sigma here. We've seen a little bit of D.Va recently. Ryan? Just play Ryan? That honestly might be the plan here.
Well, with Backbone coming in, right? Potentially, it's the, you know, do you play like Sim TP type stuff, right? Like,
play May with the Rhine.
Yeah, play May with the Rhine. I mean, but still, if that's where we're at in terms of,
I mean, that's where we're at.
Quite rough here.
Yes, it is. It means Landon plays the Bat, one of his best heroes, right? Play Bat Lucy on this kind of map. Hardy on the Rhine. Sparker maybe picks up some sort of hit scan, can play Widow here as well, if you're kind of worried about your very clumped together composition getting exploited in some sense. Let's see how it plays out, but I feel like if there's any rush tank that Hardy really would like to go to, something with a shield preferably, I can't see this team just allowing themselves to be hedged into a Sigma comp, which is something, by the way, that you'll see Twisted Minds quite happily pick up. We've seen TVNT on the Sigma here over the last couple of days, but I initially thought he was more of like a D.Va aficionado, but let's play the Ramatra here. Try and rush down the Rhine. Space Station Gaming, though.
This is it.
This would
be quite interesting.
Okay.
I mean, the Space Station with a little bit of a Reinhardt shenanigans here, potentially, right? I think, though, that Twisted Minds, right, with the Ramatra and, like, potentially the Mei, like, a little bit of flexibility here, I think they're in a spot where they could definitely counter.
Yeah, this comp lets them play corners pretty effectively. Control this room. Space Station, yeah, is it the... Okay, so I think we've only seen the Bastion in the main event right now from Seeker on this map. So you can play like that, that Sim Bastion Ryan setup here. Be pretty hard to keep tabs on. Obviously, great front-loaded damage. It really bowls over the Ramatra. Good Mei wall, though. That buys a little bit of space here for Twisted Minds. Allows TVNT to power block and move back a little bit. Now the cat's out of the bag. They know what they're dealing with here from Space Station.
How worried are you about this? Is Sparker now over to the Widow here? Potentially Widow Bastion type of setup, trying to maybe just find a pick here off the rip. Is it's be a Mei wall from UB just trying to protect TVNT.
I mean, your advantage here, I think, against a Mei comp for sure. Yeah, look at how you forced everyone in the corner, and that's a great shot from Sparker. His scan pressure's down, Quartz out of the picture. Sparker's still looking to shoot the kneecaps of Bliss in that corner, eventually brings the Lucio down. This might necessitate a switch here from TM.
Yeah, I don't know if you can kind of play this necessarily for Twisted Minds throughout this, as Quartz now goes over to the Sim. So is the idea to just drop the hit scan and just, you know, collapse, right? That looks like, at least here at the start, that's going to be what they're going to go.
You want like ramping frontline damage that is comparable to what Bastion can provide, but with Symmetra, it's not, you know, confined to the window that Bastion has wheels mode. It obviously ramps up over time. Teleport as well allows you to try and circumvent the Rhine shield, get someone in position to backstab. That Air Matrix is a big problem. Ramatra's shield does not last long enough here. TVNT knows about it. Yeah. Homie looked like he was about to get mummified with his hands over his chest there.
I think he got knocked up there by a like Bastion nade, right? Is like you actually ends up using the Blizzard, so they want to continue to fight.
Backline caught by that. Sparker was also brought down by Quartz. I think TP'd on top of him. That's a shatter. Yeah, UB didn't have Ice Block available. It was a few seconds away. Can the Bastion mortars drop down now? And Space Station have got the confidence map for sure. TVNT the ball, just to stall a little here. Don't read into it too much.
All right, so Space Station gets on the board in terms of getting that first checkpoint. I think TVNT probably switches off of this ball. I think that was probably just to get to the point. I know fight that there towards the end. I think they probably continue to run with this Sim Mei. It seemed like they were starting to make a little bit of progress in terms of you know, making Space Station sweat a little bit, but see if they can kind of close that gap. Hottie actually gets walled off here, looking to try and finish him off there with the Nemesis form, but that's going to be the immortality field that kind of keeps him alive, allows him to back up to land to the rest of the
pretty
team.
Perfect. Lando knows exactly what to do. I mean, this team has played so much of this Ryan comp. Basically this exact Ryan comp. Bastion with the Sim in the past as well. Quartz gets popped up. Again, that tack grenade gives Sparker the opportunity to find an easy, a free kill. 4-player sound barrier comes out now for Twisted Minds. Space Station throw one of their own into the mix here. And Bliss gets charged away from his team by Hardy. This is maybe where Space Station really going back to their roots, Matt, to find success.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they were talking about on the desk that some of these maps are kind of, you know, free wins, so to speak. This is looking like one now. It was another grenade conk up that, like, knocks Quartz into the line of sight of Sparker. And, man, this is just a speed run here through circuit for Space Station. Looks like they're just going to kind of stall out. Vigilante here is
getting staggered.
It's going to be stuck. Yep. This brutal stuff. So he eventually will fall, but that's going to be a while before that BAP is back. And Twisted Mind's not really even building up towards any ultimates.
Still thinking of going with this Sam Mei comp. By the way, this comp does nothing to Widow unless you TP on top of her, which we saw from Quartz actually earlier on. Doing it again. Spark is just going to make a hasty retreat. The Mei wall too late to catch him. So again, we do have the Sim ultimate up. Pretty important wall, but Space Station's comp would really only cut the Widowmaker out of the picture. Here come the mortars. I don't know if Backbone knows exactly where they are. Does now. Throws them all up to the high ground. Quartz going to drop the wall. Hardy throws it on the wrong side of it. A chance here to punish the Rhine, but everyone grouping up around him. This means Space Station flip the map. They get off the cart while this wall is up.
Yeah, they're flipped in the complete opposite direction, pretty much, right? As Sparker now trying to work his way back towards like the choke destroy. the teleporters. That's going to be the shatter. It knocks down TVNT. TVNT's going to get up, pop the annihilation
He's
straight
hoping for a
away.
Vigilante Amp Matrix with extra healing, I think. But he holds on to it in the end. Hardy eventually falls to the annihilation. Obviously, that's the window where Ryan is really weak against Ramatra. And so Twisted Mind's able to shut this down. They switch to Farah and the Widowmaker, oddly enough.
We've seen it done.
They're
on
playing
push.
Malga Venture on that map. Oh, they did play Ryan. They did play Ryan. So they got rolled by Rajara's Ramatra.
Yep. Yeah, I think one map that would be pretty brutal for them would be like Blizzard World, right? Like you can't really do this on Blizzard World, so to speak. So looks like TVNT will actually try and play the D.Va here into this. So this will be an interesting kind of a matchup as
D.Va into
he gets
Ryan.
his mic working. Everybody can hear him now.
Okay, with a Baptiste. Okay. A little hard to heal TVNT at the best of times here. Air Matrix though. Quartz I think fired through that, yeah. Body shot kill on a Bastion insta. Pump that into my veins.
I love the Ant Matrix gets dropped and they lose a player, but Hadi just charges face first at the Ant Matrix. Why not? So he actually ends up pinning TVNT, but doesn't come up with anything. So this will actually have a Mei swap. So they'll keep Sparker here on the Widow and they'll bring in the Mei. So this is like trying to really kind of go after that D.Va potentially, right? I know block that D.Va.
Ooh, it
also
works.
block some of these sight lines.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
it has to be an Immortality Field rather to keep the D.Va standing. The wall actually blocked TVNT's escape route. Clever backbone. And look at all the space that SSG managed to get after forcing that disengagement from TVNT. But sound barriers online for both sides coming into this next fight, and a barrage for Yubi, which can be compliant with the barrier. Maybe even an Immortality Field if Vigilante's able to get that one down. Here come the beats now. Twisted Minds get their second into barrage. Yubi using it with that extra durability. Gets rid of the Immortality Field, but not much more. But he drops down at the right time. He's instantly healed back up. It must have been a regenerative burst there from Landon. But Quartz loses out on the Widow battle. Now Sparker can start to think about wrapping around and punishing this Yubi position. But Yubi skates through. Somehow avoids detection and gets rid of Landon. That is stunning.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the kill there on to Landon is impressive there from Yubi. I mean, we saw the position that he was in. Looked like he was going to be killed, but ends up living as they'll kind of stagger out here. Backbone as he's trying to find maybe a kill as he's off the side of the map. So the Twisted Minds getting a hold, even though Sparker gets the better of the Widow duel. But you see the position that Yubi's like sitting here. Like, how do you kind of work through this choke, right? He's not really giving a line of sight for Sparker to get up a big kill here on the Widow.
Yubi's also holding on to Infra. So will he pop it before he gets spotted out by Sparker? He knows Sparker is about there. And he's not going to offer up the opportunity. Hardy a little bit worried about the conk. They avoid it, they wrap around. They know against D.Va and Farah, the environmental kill potential is real. So they split their team. Never split the party. Baptiste going along with Sparker. They haven't really found a way in yet, Space Station. They're now in one-fight territory. TVNT upstairs. I think you saw around the Ice Block used there by Backbone and an opportunity to get in there and get rid of the Mei. Landon had that Immortality Field that came online at the right time, and now TVNT's going to drop. Quartz looking to reposition now to get a good fight spot, but that Blizzard is a little challenging. TVNT never got frozen? Sorry? Okay, he's still standing.
He lives with the Ant Matrix healing on the high ground there from Vigilante, right? Being able to keep him alive, which is massive, right? So Bliss goes over to the Ana here, just trying to maybe get a bio here.
Sparker's Infrasign has just expired now. Self-destruct for TVNT to get a new mech. Looking to fight Quartz, though, is Sparker. The barrage, though, is something Hardy can't do anything about. Immortality Field, he was playing outside of it. Too far forward was Hardy. And it's only Funny Astro to get rid of the Farah, but the damage is well and truly already done. Just the Widow sitting in the periphery now, and Sparker knows this one is chalked.
It's like we were talking about, it's very difficult to turn that corner with that Farah in such a great position up on that high ground. And I know being able to just land that rocket barrage, like nobody can even turn the corner. He'll get any type of kills there. So really nice switches there from Twisted Minds yet again. And now as we go with Space Station on defense, can you play this Reinhardt Bastion Widow on the defensive side of things, right? It seemed like it put a lot of pressure on when they were on offense, but I don't know how you try and play this
Play
on
with the Mei, perhaps instead. And again, you play corners really well. You might see Twisted Minds try and play a poke comp to just sort of chip away at the Ryan setup. Or the exact literal opposite.
No.
That's what that would be.
Well, no, there's no way this is kind of what, I mean, there's not a shot. So Space Station will play the Widow in the Bastion yet again. with the Bat Lucio. I think it's just kind of up for debate what we see here from Twisted Minds. Is it like a D.Va? Is it a Ramatra? Like, what is the response?
Vigilante on the Iliari here because she's the best candidate to play the piano. That's really the only reason why. Thank you.
4, 3,
Okay, do they come out with the Queen? Queen, the Bastion, the Sim. Oh, they really want to throw down here on this space station setup.
Yeah, so they're down to take the fight, right? As this will be playing the Bastion. As Hottie runs, he's like, nah, we're good. So now we will wait here.
TP.
It'll be a TP across the gap.
Okay, get that high ground taken. You've got a spot at least.
Yeah, let's see. Let's move the car.
I mean, the high ground's not that easy to exploit here for Twisted Minds comp. I guess Quartz is a little annoying. Oh, I like the little TP into the backside, but Backbone got caught in that small corner of the room. I guess the immortality hit for Lander was no good. Wow, okay, Space Station unable to hang there. The brawl goes against them because they lose that Bastion so early, and Sparker couldn't find anything.
Well, and now, right, you lose this Bastion, right? That's a lot of your damage. You have to be pretty careful how you play here around this corner as Sparker just maybe trying to find a kill there on the Quartz. That'll be the TP on in, the shout there to give the Bastion, the rest of the crew, a little bit extra help, but that's going to be Hottie already with a shout.
Built that awful quick. I don't know how he managed it against the Queen Bastion composition. But it's Sparker's pick that really ends the fight there early. It's a huge shot to open it. Oh, Vigilante, a little stagger.
Funny Astro will knock him off the side, so a fight win there.
Yes, here's what I thought they would play
now. Yeah, Sigma with this type of comp. So this is going to give a little bit of extra protection there for the Bastion, but that is Yubi just dropping right away. Same with Quartz. I think they're caught off guard at how aggressive that Space Station wanted to be.
And again, this is the kind of comp that can run over that front line, especially if Hardy's able to play close. And that's why I'm playing a poke comp against like this Ryan who will just sit on the corner and not sort of take any poke. Means that you don't have like a long sight line to work with. So we saw Hardy running away, charging back to give space to the Queen. Now he wants to take it away from the Sigma.
Yeah, does not want to allow that Sigma to kind of control that, you know, mid-ground area, right, where you can just kind of poke away, put down some damage. They get a TP. This is like a little bit of a, they're just trying to run away to the cart, but man, that is just falling apart here for TF.
Didn't work at all. Perfect pick there for Sparker. Found Yubi, the one player that could have got him out potentially. Vigilante pops up with the Exo Boots, which is a big no-no in Widow's world. There we go. Bliss is out of the picture.
It'll take a while for Bliss to end up falling off the side, but Space Station putting together a tremendous defense. Look at this. They push up, take that space right away like you were talking about, right? Wants to continue to deny Sigma that ground. Is now you'll back up, probably preparing for potentially that TP. This will be actually Quartz here using the artillery.
Great damage though. Look at that mortar strike. They come out from Quartz. Still going to deal with the immortality fielding. Yeah, Sigma can't stop a shatter if there's not a shield standing. I just think like how differently Hardy has played against the Sigma and Queen shows just how well he understands each of those matchups. Sky and the Reinhardt really unparalleled. Another stagger. Take us under a minute for Twisted Minds. They've got to come up with an answer. Coming out of spawn, they don't really have the space to make a poke comp work. They don't want to match the Ryan. The Queen doesn't work either.
No sound barrier either, right? Now for Twisted Minds. So I don't know how you try and do this. They actually try and use the artillery to maybe like force out the sound barrier. It's actually just the immortality field and the Ant Matrix that Landon uses to keep Backbone up. Is another pin here from Hottie. Is look at that immortality field used right away.
Matrix is not going to be enough here against the sound barrier. And a mortar. Everybody stacked up here on the side of Twisted Minds. Sparker fighting Yubi yet again, really thriving midway through these longer fights where nobody's paying the Widow any heed, and he'll find yet another one. Should be courtesy for Twisted Minds. They're out of options. Funny Astro as well, able to double down here and just pick up the stragglers. It was mentioned on the desk, Matt, that there were a few maps that could be insta wins here, guaranteed for Space Station. I think Circa Royal was what they were referring to.
Yeah, I mean, that was a spawn camp of all spawn camps there at the end there for Space Station Gaming. Hottie just, shatter after shatter, just charging in, causing chaos for Twisted Minds, as that's the type of style that Space Station wants to play right now. It's just how how often can you force it?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like what maps can they try the same thing. You sort of mentioned maybe some push maps. It's an option. They're going to try and do it on Runesapi if they get another map pick in this series. That's definitely a place where like we've seen them at least attempt it. It was exploited pretty badly by Virtus Pro though, so there is at least some tape there to rely on. But straight away, like Sparker really hit the ground running on this map. We saw like that Ramatra style. They want to play mid-range and have some brawl potential, but the Ryan comp definitely disrespecting that a little bit. And no Tracer here, so no one contests these spots for the Widows. You know, at the end of the day, you just kind of try and hope that she doesn't shoot you in the face, but the Ramatra shield isn't static. It doesn't stay around forever, rather. So you bide your time, you wait for it.
And
I don't mind the Farah pick here.
And with how Twisted... Yeah, this was good on defense here from Twisted Minds towards the end. It thought like, you know, maybe... You know, with how they ended their defense, like there was an opportunity for them to win, you know, or take this map, right, go up 2-0, but Spacestation was just on another level on defense. I mean, you talked about like just how hot he was able to change up the pace of play, whether they were running the Junker Queen or the Sigma, and it was just fantastic work there from Spacestation Gaming. It's just how many more maps, like you mentioned, right? Like there are some maps in the pool that you would consider like, you know, absolute wins for them. How many of them are there, right? You know, they would only probably get to pick one more. And like even on a pick from Twisted Minds, right? Can they make something like this work?
Can this rush style work on like another push map? Like, what if Spacestation Gaming pick like a new Queen Street?
Potentially. Well, with Twisted Minds pick, I expect this to be potentially a hybrid map, right? One that can like force verticality, like you know, a Paraíso, a Blizzard World, right? Like something that the Diva is really strong on, where even potentially like forcing you to use like a Winston, right? So like Eichenwalde is one of them. You would probably stay away from King's Row, right? King's Row is one where you can probably play. I know some Reinhardt, you know, TP type plays, so probably stay away from King's Row. Maybe just kind of leave the flashpoints for later in the series. I think probably push as well, not going to get as much value. So I assume it would be you know, one of the Blizzard World Eichenwalde Paraíso picks.
We've seen though that Twisted Minds can play these like sort of rush style or brawl compositions around that Junker Queen here. New Jack City going to be picked here by Twisted Minds, which is runs a bit counter to some of our theory crafting about where they might feel at their strongest. But it is a map where, you know, perhaps they can get the Tracer turned on. Like, that's just really tough on Circuit Royal, right? You can't pressure the backline, so players like Sparker can sort of do what they want. You just don't have flank angles available to you. This is a very different situation. Psycho comes in, so Space Station also probably thinking about adding Tracer back to their ranks, freeing up Sparker to play something a little bit different. But this doesn't feel like a map that's super advantage for Twisted Minds.
No, and I think maybe, well, so Backbone obviously gives a lot of flexibility to this Space Station roster, right? You know, maybe forcing a map that you want to play Tracer on all the time, kind of like force them to play Psycho, but Psycho's pretty good, and maybe that's kind of where you think you can, you know, make some inroads, right? Backbone plays a lot of the things that enables Space Station Gaming to do all these potentially weird-like things, right? So, curious what TM decides to do. I mean, they can play the Diva here. You can obviously play Ramatra, right? A bunch of different styles.
It does mean that Space Station... Okay. Backbone here in the lineup alongside Psycho.
So Backbone is in with Psycho.
Yeah, so I was wondering, like, if Backbone's out, then like, the Venture Malga comp wouldn't have been on the board, but that is actually what they're going to go for.
So they can play like the Maga, they can play the Backbone Venture with like Psycho on Tracer. It looks like here at the start they're actually going to play it with an Echo, and it'll be Twisted Minds playing a Maga composition of their own. So both teams want to just go all in on the Maga.
Yeah, and they're both all in comps as well, even if Genji and Echo have some key differences. Their focusing beam, though, really allows Space Station to have that upfront burst. TVNT gets a Suzu straight away, so that's already been used, and the damage trade being heavily lost here by Twisted Minds. They're getting shoved back. Quartz as well, I mean, can sort of do some consistent poke, but it doesn't really measure up to what Echo can do in a pinch. Fuck yeah, so what the heck? Okay, buddy.
Yeah, the Vigilante Suzu used straight away to keep TVNT up, and after that, it's also the cardiac overdrive used from TVNT. You just see the damage output just favors Space Station Gaming so heavily, and there's no way that Twisted Minds could respond or win that fight in the long run.
Well, our concerns about Space Station at the start of the series started to dissipate here because this is a tier map pick and they get to play a comp that is one of their best. Maybe not their absolute best, but right now there's an argument for it. Quartz, whoa, so low. I gotta see this Genji get some value. I've gotta be convinced at some point. Rush comes up instantly here for Vigilante and he throws it down. It's Hardy to go first. Space Station, hold on to their Kitsune Rush, hold on to their ults. We're going to come back for the next fight here. But that was built awfully quick for Vigilante. Next time we might get to see what the Genji really can do.
Yes, you will have that double support ult for Space Station Gaming, right? I also think the dupe will be pretty impactful here for Space Station and Psycho, but you mentioned Twisted Minds. You absolutely needed a point flip there. Another fight lost probably would have been the first point lost. So they end up, you know, this is going to be Backbone actually using the ventral ultimate just to kind of push them back a little bit. The tectonic shock used quite early.
He was hoping for a bit more, but Hardy didn't have the cage fight up, which is normally what we see combined
and now
with
the
that.
rush.
Okay. Again, Twisted Minds try to back away. This time, though, unsuccessful. Double down with one focusing beam for Psycho. That is rare to see. Clean fight and a sound barrier maintained to give you some parity against Twisted Minds in what will be the deciding fight on this flashpoint. It's a good call for SSG.
The tectonic shock actually like backs up Twisted Minds, right? Gets them to use some of their mobility, and then they don't really have anything to get out of the Kitsune Rush, right? And then Psycho can just kind of fly on in. Start to dominate as Quartz gets quite low and taken out as this is going to be Bliss getting on and getting a touch. He's going to get a point flip here, but I think it's kind of potentially meaningless, right? Is everybody pushing forward here for Space Station?
Backbone and Psycho came back, so I think all of SSG had to respond to this. This gives Twisted Minds a charge, but TVNT stuck in the cage fight with half HP. Sound barrier though for both sides. TVNT able to benefit from it, and Quartz is going to come in now with a Dragon Blade. Try for it at least, but he's got a Malga in his face. Able to bring down Hardy with the help of Bliss eventually. That is a lot to expend in a fight that was already so heavily slanted against you, and Psycho just makes up the Malga deficit with a duplicate. Eventually Quartz capitulates, and Space Station take the first point.
Yeah, nobody could get on there for Twisted Minds to get a touch as they invest pretty heavily in there, right? They end up using the Kitsune Rush, they end up using their Blade Cage Fight sound barrier too, where now Space Station Backbone's got this tectonic shock already back online, and then Landon with the Kitsune Rush. So you're in a spot potentially to take this first fight of this next checkpoint, get yourself an early lead on a Twisted Minds mapping. But look how fast they go
and that was the venture starting it off. UB really wanted that smoke. Psycho, I think, took a bunch of damage from the poke and then the stomp already. However, no Malga here for Twisted Minds. They find that first pick, the Echo, but they extend so deeply into it that they get hammered in the damage trades after.
Yeah, and with the Malga here for Space Station still alive, right? And also the Venture, two very difficult targets to deal with. You're not going to be able to dislodge them from the point without your own Malga. The Cardiac Overdrive just kind of keeping everybody topped up, especially. So another fight win here for Space Station Gaming. This also feels like a comp pitch that like they want to play, right? You know, Twisted Minds taking us here. That's why I thought like potentially they pick like a hybrid map, like you could play like Winston Diva type of styles. The Malga type of aggressive rush is something that you know, Twisted Minds is good at, but this feels way more comfortable than having to play, you know, a Winston Tracer Ash per se, right?
Absolutely. This is definitely where SSG want to be. Sound barrier come out here for Bliss. Funny Astro holds it, and Quartz is going to fall here. Space Station have no need to invest these ultimates yet. They still have the point, for God's sake. The tectonic shock here is a scary prospect. TVNT, the cardiac overdrive up, but no way to really make use of it for that big heal. So this will be a wash on point B.
Yes, this is going to be looks like a pretty fast map win here for Space Station Gaming, because you hold on to the sound barrier like you mentioned. You also end up with a Kitsune Rush, cage fight, and dupe here for the next fight. So Space Station should be able to get control of this next flashpoint with relative ease. And then it's just about the kind of long game in terms of ultimates. How many do they end up using to have to kind of take it? Can they kind of keep extending it? You're looking at maybe Quartz's blade making an impact, but there's already that sound barrier on the other side. I mean, Tony Ash does such a great job holding on to it. That's going to be the Kitsune Rush used here. I think just really going to keep up TVNT.
Backbone damage is so good. Hardy though, taking down the side of his own cage fight. Yubi able to catch him out with a tectonic shock and a sound barrier that's a little belated. Still winnable though. TVNT a little low. Quartz trying to find purchase with the blade, but the Malga difference has been established as Psycho picks an extra one up. Cage fight also earned for free here. Yubi going to be caught inside of him. A great Suzu there. Fantastic from Vigilante. Twisted Minds start that fight with that player advantage and they convert.
Yeah, an absolute must-win fight there for Twisted Minds, right? A lot of ultimates used on both sides. It would have been pretty devastating to end up losing that. And they hold on to their sound barriers. So these Lucios kind of, being able to hold on to these sound barriers for extended periods that make them definitely pay off when there's nothing on the other side to kind of counter that. As Backbone with the tectonic shock, probably going to use this to try and push them back a little bit. Maybe get a point for Space Station.
All right, here it is, Backbone with that shock, like you said. He's going to open up a ton of space. Quartz might get caught out in the open, and yes, Psycho was able to come in at a low health Genji and finish him with a focusing beam. Backbone sees Vigilante. It's a premature Suzu. It's going to cost him his life. And I think, yep, he can work through the Genji pretty easily too. Backbone just, got some sore knees to stretch out.
Yeah, I mean, potentially a free sound barrier here for Twisted Minds coming on in. I wonder if they're like holding it onto it for potentially like cage fight or something along those lines. But they have to have an idea where TVNT is, and seeing the Hottie cage fight in the previous fight, that they're pretty far away. Like, could have potentially got another one to match up with it, but that's a kill from Bunny Astro at range.
They're committing with a sound barrier here. Oh, I can't feel like that's advisable at all.
Yeah, that is not advisable.
Bliss, bro, you okay?
I mean, that's what you're holding on to it for, right? We talk about that hold on to it, fight 2-3 fights. That's the situation. I mean, nah, I don't know.
Okay, that one definitely threw me for a loop. Last fight territory here for Twisted Minds for the map, mind you. Kitsune Rushes will be matched, but they've obviously thrown away that sound barrier. Tectonic shock up for Yubi now. A dupe of Amalga surely on the cards here for Psycho. Here it comes. It's the rush. Backbone tries to dive second in order to come out later. It's going to be a tectonic shock here, giving Space Station some concern, but they have a sound barrier to work with, and Yubi gets flattened early. TVNT is going to struggle to hold on here as well. And yes, there are 2 Malgas up for Space Station Gaming. That's pretty good. I'd say that's a good strategy even. And there it is. Pick for Twisted Minds goes awry. They try and take the fight to New Junk City, and they come off decidedly second best.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of comms there that Space Station Gaming can make work in their favor. Just playing that Maga with the Echo and just being super aggressive behind the Echo and the Venture. No answer really from Twisted Minds. I'm a bit surprised in the map pick. Like, I think Twisted Minds is good at this type of playstyle, but it's something that the Space Station's totally comfortable with, right? If you're gonna try and take them to a map that potentially you think you can win, it's one of those ones where they're forced to play a little bit more dive, a little bit more Winston, Diva potentially, right? I don't think New Junk City's one.
No, that's why we were a bit confused by it, right? There are obviously some glaring problems for Space Station Gaming on certain maps that require to play certain comps. So the question is, what are those maps? Where do Twisted Minds take them? Desk, gang? Because Space Station looked like they were more than happy to play Malga on New Junk
I'm about
City.
to go off.
Yeah, please.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, the stage is yours. This pick was this an ego pick?
This is a grief.
What was
throwing.
that?
They just threw the series away. Like, they deserve to lose picking New Junk City. It's a psychotic pick. Not only is New Junk City, when I was saying there's free map wins for SSG in this pool, Circuit was a first in my mind, which fair play. You know, they get the map pick, they go there. The second in my head was New Junk City. That was SSG. I think if SSG lost a map, they would have picked New Junk City. That's, for me, is like their best map this meta. They can play the Malga comp super well. It's probably the meta on New Junk City. If anything, you could have said, oh, let's go to Saravasa and play some Diva. And I would have felt pretty okay with that for Twisted Minds. But New Junk City is just an indefensible choice, and they get stomped on it. I think there's still a chance Twisted Minds can come back in this series, because I think the hybrid pool, you know, you could take it to a Paraiso, which is, for the record, that's what I would have picked if I were Twisted Minds. Go to Paraiso, force another dive mirror where you look really strong and SSG has not been comfortable. But now I'm worried for them because, you know, I think you give up this crucial win on your own map pick, basically picking Spacestation's preferred map. Now the whole series is in question. Spacestation could be easily the team to advance off this one major mistake.
Yeah, I think they could have picked like so many maps in literally every game mode available to them. Like you could have picked, like you said,
this
like
is the
Paraíso,
worst one,
or
of
even like
all of them. This is the worst pick.
You want to put Quartz up on like an Icon High Ground or something like that. If you wanted to deny Runa Sapi from SSG because they're like that is their go-to preferred map in that game mode, like you could have picked like a Colosseo, for example. So I'm flabbergasted by this choice. I think it's so obvious in this series what SSG's comfort is and what Twisted Mind's comfort is, and then you take them to New Junk City, and SSG are up 2-1 in this series where, like, you looked at the map one. Map one was insanely dominant. You were just like, okay, SSG, they're throwing Lucio Kiriko at the wall. They're going in because they haven't been able to figure out this Brig Ana look for themselves. And so you felt like, oh, this is an SSG team that is like, really underperforming. We were questioning just like, is this, the worst they played all year? And now they're up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah,
so,
no, literally, you look back at map one.
And that is credit to the circuit play.
Map one, no,
but
midway
also,
through map one. Midway through map one, I feel like all of us thought like, okay, Twisted Mind is going to run away with it. Like, there's no way. The adaptations were so good. They made all the right switches. Every time SSG tried something new, Twisted Minds had an answer for it. It looked so good. Then obviously Circuit Royale was like, okay, SSG obviously picking that map for a reason. They can play to their comfort. Still look difficult or like dangerous at the very end.
It was competitive. Like if the defense wasn't so solid, they could have easily lost that map.
Because SSG, they committed to that Rhine on that 3rd-point defense. Attack. There we go. So yeah, that was raising questions. We're baffled, we're stunned. We do not know what exactly went through their minds or what was written in that playbook which made them go.
I mean, I think Twisted Minds just maybe is also confident on the Mauga matchup, but it just seems crazy to me to let your opponent play what they are obviously comfortable on. It is going to be Colosseo. I think the hybrid pool is all pretty good for Twisted Minds, so this is a decent pick. I agree with this one.
Yeah.
But now the series is in contention, and even if you win this for Twisted Minds, SSG is going to have their best shot at hybrid to close this out on map 5. It's going to need to be great plays from Twisted Minds to still win the series. I still think they can do it. I still think compositionally they're the better team this meta, but man, they really have made it harder for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? You know what? Elimination match. Let's make it as close as humanly possible. So it's for the people, all right? We're feasting. We get more Overwatch, so really nothing to be upset about. What do you want to see from either of those teams on Colosseo?
Look, I think Quartz has been a standout for Twisted Minds so far, and I think he is the key to victory for this Twisted Minds team. So I just want to see, a bit similar to what we saw on map 1, really, on Samoa. I think they played well around that and kind of put SSG in a difficult position. But even like Colosseo, like historically, SSG, they've had pretty good compositions set up for this map specifically, and they have a good understanding as well of taking the enemy high ground, of course, like when you get close to the bridge area, for example, like, putting Landon up there on the high ground with, historically like a Baptiste and stuff like that. We'll kind of see what compositions they go to here. Again, I think that Mauga is an obvious choice on a map like New Junk City, for example. But like, going back to map 1, really like, okay, are we going to force Brawl on this map, for example? Or, will you have to default to something else? We'll have to see.
We will have to see indeed. And that match is just a few moments away. Once again, a reminder, we are in the lower bracket here. This is an elimination match between SSG and Twisted Minds, which both had to recalibrate a little bit throughout the group stages, and especially heading into the main event. SSG, they weren't quite allowed or able to play what they usually would be playing, as the meta just really didn't
Twisted
favor
Minds said,
their
we are
style.
so sorry you've had to adapt, SSG. No more of that.
No,
you get to play
worry.
New Junk City just
Make it an
as a
battle.
gift from me to you.
Yeah, we want to win when you play at your best. That's the spirit here. Jack is just like, please don't. But we'll see. We see what they have in store for us. We got some subs coming in for Colosseo as well. Let's see if they can, turn the tide. SSG currently on match point in their elimination match. Can they close it out? Let's send it over to Matt and Mitch.
Yes, that substitution was Sparker in for Psycho, for those wondering. Backbone stays in here, and Twisted Minds have to take us to push in order to try and stay alive here in our Stage 3 main event. This might be an attempt to deny Runasapi from Space Station as a potential map 5 selection. Can they make it work here in Colosseo?
But I feel like then you could have just played like, Colosseo. If you lost Colosseo, then you could have picked a hybrid and then just kind of had the brawl for game 5, right? If you felt like that was like something that potentially you were fine taking head to head, right? I think probably a different way you could have packed this series, but it'll be Spacestation trying the Reinhardt yet again. No Sim in the mix though. Sparker on the Widow here. Trying to control some of these long sight
This comp
lines.
certainly requires Sparker to have impact here, and so far there's been no targets to fire at. Twisted Mind's really respecting the Widow presence by playing off the bot entirely. So yeah, it gives a bit of early push over to Space Station. But eventually they can start to chime back in here. Backbone also is up against Ashe and Farah. Not easy for EMEA.
Yeah, as Sparker took a little bit of damage as has to back up, but this is going to be some bot progress here for Space Station as the UB getting really low, not really going to be able to get any healing really at all there. Now Bliss kind of finds him as like around this corner. Backbone, dude, he has hit some crazy ice
Bro, he ain't stopping.
the last few days.
Bro, ain't stopping. Holy mackerel. Okay, Vigilante has to back out. Landon, though, follows up on the damage that Backbone did. Gets rid of Quartz. Oh, buddy. This is what I'm saying. Backbone on this mate, it doesn't matter if he's up against, like, heroes that outrange him or heroes that are hit scan. He's playing like a long-range projectile role here. TVNT's on the ball. Okay. Have they lost their marbles?
I mean, this is... I feel like they've kind of beefed the map selection process a little bit here for Twisted Minds as TVD goes in with the ball, but just going to be able to kind of like bunker down here. It feels like with it. That was actually the nano used there onto Yubi, I believe, as well.
Yubi goes in, gets nothing. We've seen that a couple times.
Nice checkpoint.
Nano given over towards the Farah. This time it wasn't for a barrage either, but man.
They're going to have Sound Barrier and Amp Matrix here with the Widow shooting down this corridor in the Shatter. They might get a completion.
TVNT's on the Diva now. Infra side up for Sparker. He can see it all. That basically equates to free bot progress across this bridge for the next 10 or so seconds. And Twisted Minds have been really unsure about how to engage against Space Station. This whole map, they've just been very, very unsure. Very reticent. Sparker here just, okay, sees the dynamite. Finally, Yubi switching to something that could pressure this Widow position. But
the bot's still moving. And
Sparker's not bothered. Absolutely not bothered. Vigilante here. A little bit of a risky spot, but able to take Landon low with a Bionate. Sparker's able to finish Quartz off, though. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they don't even get Landon, right? They get a nice bio connection onto Landon, but they don't finish him off as it's a bit of a flank here from the Demon Space Station as they still have this sound barrier to potentially use. That's going to be the sound barrier. Not good enough, though, to save Landon.
A lot of progress here for Space Station regardless. I think that beat was definitely designed to keep the Baptiste in the game. No good on that count. And so Twisted Minds are going to have a chance to play the game if they choose to. And so far, it's been an option they've just declined.
But still, they give up 118 meters, man. I mean, against Rhine Widow May. I mean,
have never seen a team tilt like this one. I'm sorry. It is so palpable. Twisted Minds just look off kilter as soon as they, went on to New Junk City. It's bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, yet again, I think the desk will definitely talk about it as that's going to be the baby diva kill there from Sparker. They'll talk about it, the map selection process. I feel like is one where Twisted Minds, I think, kind of they let Space Station like get right back into
no
it.
Way,
right?
dude,
We saw
don't shatter them, please.
Is he going to be a shatter? I thought it was going to be one, but
yeah, we all were clenching for it. Hardy though doesn't opt to go for it. A little bit of it would have been more of a flex and a sort of verifiable, solid strategy. Here's the charge, backed up with the main wall, backs away. Sound barrier going to be drawn out. Hardy trying to back up now as quickly as he can. Sparker bowled over by TVNT. Vigilante here, pretty safe. Just one more shot on Lander will get the job. Okay, never mind. Didn't see it. I do not perceive.
Yeah, the shatter doesn't really do much there from Hardy. Backbone's still alive here. You'll deal with him, but I mean, the bot, it doesn't even make it back towards the middle of the map, right? And if it does make it back to the middle of the map, Sparker has a 6 sight line there to battle the Ashe, right? In terms of the Widow versus the Ashe matchup. So this is going to be a massive uphill mountain to climb here for Twisted Minds.
But Space Station could give a lot more ground than they are, but they obviously want to make use of this Ryan, get him up close. Quartz had the off angle, but Sparker anticipated it, now has an infraside available, so you won't be getting the drop on this Widow anytime soon. Nano for the D.Va. TVNT coming up, very healthy. Following up on the dynamite explosion there from Quartz, and Bob is now at the ready.
But what? Using the Bob here middle of the map feels terrible because you're not really going to gain anything out of this. It's actually, the Bob's used, but it looks like it actually just like knocks into Hottie there, and then they just may wall it off. So the Bob never actually makes it to where he's going to have like a line of sight on the point. So the Bob really kind of results in nothing.
The Bob does just peek around the corner, which is what necessitated that sort of back away by Sparker. Oh, this guy is just playing full auto at the moment on this Widow. They found Vigilante too. That is massive. TVNT now has to be very careful about these engagements. UB obviously can sort of circumvent and harass Hardy to a great degree. So we are starting to see now the Reinhardt comp having some problems with his hyper-mobile Twisted Minds look.
Yes, now Twisted Minds are going to get up and try and control some of this high ground here. As Sparkle make a change over to Cassidy, so this is going to amp the pace up for Space Station, right? You want to get more into like that, I know, mid-brawl type of scenario. But even in that last fight, Mitch, right, you end up losing it for Space Station, but when Twisted Minds got control of the bot, they had like, you know, almost like 6 minutes on the clock, right? You know, getting the clock this far down. Nice immortality field there to keep everybody topped up. It's going to be funny after using a sound barrier. That's how weak Space Station
They can't make use of it. Twisted Minds just split. They disperse like a fire in a field.
Space Stations just take the bot the other way. Just run. I mean, there's no disadvantage to it, right? I mean, you get back towards the middle of the map. They stall so long here mid-map with so much clock that getting it back here, you can draw maybe another minute off the
Blizzard
clock.
here, Sparker able to catch UB out, but not before Landon was felled. Hardy, got a shield? Oh, okay.
The ice, I think the ice block like prevents him from shielding the
I think the issue might have been that the
self-destruct.
D.Va model actually protruded through the Rhine shield because he was pressed up against it in the corner. So yeah, his shield was up, but the model was technically on the other side of the shield. Schrodinger's self-destruct.
Oh, Backbone's gonna have to answer about that one.
Was, I mean, Hardy pressed up in the corner. Goodbye, another immortality field to answer it, but TVNT will capitalize. Much better looks here for Twisted Minds. Okay, so now we start talking about a checkpoint potential after TVNT is done walking out of his mech and leaving the scene of Hardy's crime.
Well, and Backbone takes out the Vigilante over by the bot, so the bot wasn't actually moving at the time because Backbone's on a bit of a flank there. So now they don't have TVNT in mech. It's going to be the Bob used here, but you lose Bliss, and then TVNT, I think, off the side there.
Just opted to go over.
Yes, you're not going to be able to make anything out of that.
In the end, it only amounts to 45 meters for Twisted Minds. Not enough with only a minute 50 left in the round, and this is Twisted Minds fighting for the survival in our main event here in Stage 3. And they've gone up against the tried and tested and awful true Ryan composition from Space Station Gaming. At times on this map, they've looked like they've had the measure of it, but here comes a shadow. Hardy, well, there was a shadow.
I think he's trying to catch the D.Va potentially. The D.Va maybe just went down to the low ground, then tried to catch the D.Va before they went back up. But dude, the bio grenades from Vigilante have been huge so far, as I know in the second half, I feel like in this push. That is a big one that they capitalize on.
An unreal amount of pressure on Landon, having just to like discus throw his immortality field from all sorts of positions. Space Station having those, like, you know, key defensive utilities drawn out of them just by Bionades is very good, especially in those sort of later fights that they can get going. But they have a minute. They have a minute to make up 80 meters of progress. And it's not as if Space Station are just going to give this up. They're going to move the bot right on back. They will allow Twisted Minds to some degree to encircle them. But they have an Amp Matrix here. Blizzard as well if the fight comes from push to shove.
Yeah, and it's been hard for Twisted Minds to win these fights pretty fast in the middle of the map. That is a nice wall there from Backbone, just kind of blocking Vigilante. They do get Funny Astro here, so...
TVNT.
But not going to get a
We got caught by the swing of Hardy mid-air. Another great Bionade, though, from Vigilante. But in Space Station can just fight. They can just throw themselves at the bot here and put Twisted Minds virtually in overtime. They are going to stall this.
Yeah, just burning clock, right? Not using any ultimates, burning that clock and making a Twisted Mind. It's going to be very difficult here to make a bit of a comeback. You see Hottie just getting right back to where he can almost contest. Gonna wait now for the rest of the team, play a little bit more patiently as You're going to have everything you could have imagined here for Spacestation to get this done.
Matrix is going to be the first. Quickly, TVNT tries to get behind it, but gets forced back now. Gets a Nanoboost sound barrier going to be deployed. Backbone didn't get it, but the Blizzard is down inside that side room. Deadeye for Sparker. It's a free reload, don't worry about it. And that'll be that. Twisted Minds just cannot deal with this Rhine Cup. They can't hang with Space Station. And yes, Identity Crisis and all that might still be true. But for now, Space Station keep the dream alive.
Yes, they come in and they play some compositions they know they're great at. I also think Twisted Minds gave them a lot of map opportunities to play some of these compositions that they're great at, where Twisted Minds looked awesome earlier in the day on a certain style of play. They come in, it looks good in map number 1 right there when they have them on the Winston and they're able to force that. Never actually able to get them back over to that comp in terms of with their map selection. SSG just decides to say, screw it, we're just going to play the Reinhardt. We know we're good at it. Let's figure it out.
This is definitely one of those don't try this at home situations for Space Station's comp. It is it is the kind of comp that can really be undone by that mobility, but Space Station are so good at it. Back to their roots in order to secure their survival here in the lower bracket, but how long will the run last? Let's head over to the desk and break down this game. Twisted Minds fans in shambles.
SSG fans rise up, though. I mean, new stage, old me. SSG rocked up on that Rhine comp. I loved this. Quite frankly, though, Twisted Minds, they low-key handed them that New Junk City on a gold platter, which they take us to Colosseo, which, quite frankly, by the time we were done with our last segment, we had to come back, and we barely even sat down before coming back up, because SSG essentially already finished them out.
I mean, there was just a real chance of them finishing the full cap. I gotta say, for SSG, though, as much as I criticized Twisted Minds picking New Junk City, letting that Malga comp come out, I think that was very expected. I don't think this Widow comp with the Rhine was expected by Twisted Minds. I think very few teams have made the Rhine work here, even not SSG, but Sparker's Widow is actually perfectly picked here, because normally against this Rhine, you'd want to play the Pharahs, the Echoes, maybe an Ashe, like these long-range spammers, high mobility divers to get on the backline. But against Widow, it's very scary, and there's a great Widow sidelines on Colosseo, so some of these traditional counter picks don't feel so good. Do you really want to play Sombra against Rhine? It doesn't feel good. So I think this is actually a great strat from SSG to close out the series on Colosseo. I don't think Twisted Minds saw this coming. I didn't either. So props to SSG that, still the masters of the rush comp, right? They understand all the different variations that they could need to bring to bear, and they execute flawlessly.
Sparker player of the match here, of course, after a great showing on the Cassidy, on the Widowmaker, even on the Bastion a little bit there. Or actually, we saw the Bastion with the Widowmaker on Circuit Real. And really, like SSG, when they have their back against the wall, it is almost the most fun to watch them, because they're able to tap into some of these compositions and really take it to the enemy team. And again, like you mentioned, Jake, they just throw Twisted Minds off course a little bit. Just okay, well, now we have to figure out what we're doing here. It's a beautiful kind of defense on Circuit Real, of course. And this is, SSG when they're kind of playing their best. I think, there's a bit of a taste in my mouth, just did Twisted Minds really adapt that well? With a few fights where they were a bit booned, because I feel like the last 5 minutes on Colosseo, it was actually pretty even. Vigilante has some fantastic biotic grenades that really set up some big flanks for the rest of the team. So TVNT follow up on that. Yubi had some pop-up moments on the Tracer, and Quartz was doing work on the Ashe. So I just feel like Twisted Minds, I don't know if they got into their head a little bit, but they had their great moments and they had really bad moments, and SSG come out on top with a fantastic Rhino composition.
They do indeed, and they keep themselves alive. Again, SSG fans, rise up. But we also have a winner's interview for you now. It's going to be Hardy joining us for a quick chat. Hardy, welcome back to the show. Long time no see. You got the dub. You're currently on your salty run back in the lower bracket, though. Let's talk about how we got here. We called it, or I called it, identity crisis of sorts, because I'm a very dramatic person. Is that how it feels to you guys?
Always identity crisis.
Do you feel like you found your stride, though? Or are you just going back to the comfort? F the meta, let's just brawl?
I mean, we have some divey compositions where we're good at, but we're not going to force it anymore when it's not that good.
So I want to follow up on that. So you come out, you pick Samoa because you have map pick, and then we saw this Lucio Kiriko composition come out. Didn't really work at all on Samoa there. So how did you kind of reflect on that? What was your thinking going into Samoa, playing that comp? And like, what were your thoughts afterwards, after kind of like taking a pretty brutal defeat there on Samoa? I'm just curious, like, how you adapted in the moment, and like what you've learned so far in the tournament from your matches against Virtus Pro, for example.
I mean, the first round, it felt really fine. We felt like we lost to ourselves in the first round, but the second round, it was just hard. So we were like, okay, if the matchup happens again on Colosseo, we like predicted them to go back to the same matchup, and we try another comp, and it kind of worked. I had a 4 and 6 KD as Reinhardt, but all that matters is victory screen at the end, you know?
So I'm curious as well for SSG regarding the map picks. You know, I was kind of flaming Twisted Minds for choosing New Junk City against you guys, where I think you guys have always looked strong on the Mauga rush. Like any kind of death ball rush, your coordination is great. How did you guys feel when they picked New Junk City? Was that something you thought they'd play against you, or how did you feel coming into that map?
I mean, we were really happy about it. We didn't think they would pick it. There was like a chance they would. We didn't think they would, but I mean, we were happy when they picked it. We can just Mauga mirror and win.
That's
exactly.
That's exactly what happened. Your next opponent is going to be VP. How are you feeling about that matchup?
I think it's good. We went 2-3 when we had identity crisis. Now we overcome our identity crisis, so I think now it's going to be easy.
All right, it's going to be easy. Well, we can't wait to see what you and the squad have in store for us in your next match. Best of luck in that one, and thank you so much for taking the time for a quick chat.
Thank you. Bye-bye.